Hare Krishna, somebody can please lead the invocation prayers.
Can I do, Prabhu?
Go ahead.
Om Jnanatimirandasya Anjalashalakaya Satguru Anmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovisyam Stabinam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kathamayam Padantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yudapadakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavam Cha Sri Rupam Sakarajadam Sagana Raghunandavitam Chajivam Satvaidam Savadudam Parijana Sakitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Sri Vishankha Vichamta He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी शबानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेषु वैष्णव्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you all for coming to read and discuss Srila Prabhupada and Krishna's instructions, and thank you in advance for taking the responsibility to apply these in your respective lives. Today, first I will answer the inquiry submitted by you at the last class as part of last class spiritual endeavor. And then we'll discuss Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 5, some portion of the verses. We'll read a lot of purports today because these are important instructions by Rishabdev. First, I'll bring up on screen the inquiry. Question is, sometimes we have had bad experience with someone and then their memory gives negative thoughts. Even if we notice this and realize we should not think like this in a negative way, it is still difficult to rule out the negative thoughts from my mind. This is contradictory to equal vision. Please suggest what to do. So we have discussed in Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 and 5 that tolerance is the wall between temptation of negative thoughts and acting on those negative thoughts. It is actually super excellent that you are able to observe the negative thoughts, because only when you are able to observe the thoughts is when you will be able to act appropriately. We have also discussed that spiritual masters, pure and elevated devotees are elevated not because they do not get the negative thoughts. No, they also might get negative thoughts. Rather, the response to those thoughts is radically different for materialistic person versus pure devotees. Serious devotee, pure devotee's response to bad thoughts will be get lost. Materialistic person's response will be, oh, welcome, I was waiting for you. And we all sadhakas, one who is moving from materialistic towards devotion and towards pure devotion, our response will be somewhere in between. So when temptations come, take it as a challenge to tolerate. We should not succumb to those temptations. So all of us should have weapons ready. Weapons means by which we beat down the temptations. Meaning, weapons are meant to connect with Krishna, to stay on track or to get back on track if we have been off track. So, some examples of these weapons are chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, remember and read philosophy, look at Gopinath pictures, listen, sing, kirtan, etc. So, it will vary by each one of us. So, we should never let our guard down. We should not become complacent. Oh, I have become advanced devotee. No, we should not. Example, if a firefighter has many years of experience, does not mean fires will get smaller or fires will not happen. No. Rather, after many years of experience, firefighter becomes an expert. Initially, the firefighter is afraid. Now the firefighter is experienced. He uses his skill and experience to immediately extinguish the fire. So these negative thoughts, lust, desire, etc. is like fire. So just because we are practicing Krishna consciousness for X number of years does not mean the negative thoughts, the lust, desire will go away. No, not immediately at least. But now we have the weapons. We have the skill, the experience, and the willpower, and the knowledge to extinguish the negative thoughts and the fires, etc. So as soon as there is this desire, these negative thoughts means these fires, extinguish immediately by remembering and connecting with Krishna. So Bhagavad Gita 5.18 is the vision of Samadarshina to treat everyone equally. So we have discussed in Bhagavad Gita chapter 5 that from 5.20 onwards, Krishna gives a process to come to the level of Samadarshina stage. So 5.20 onwards describes characteristics possessed by Siddha. Siddha is a purified devotee. And these characteristics are practiced by a sadhaka, means these are the goals to achieve. These are the goals to move towards to by we all sadhakas. Therefore, measure your spiritual progress with these goals. And the essence of that set of verses in chapter 5, verse 20 onwards, is to redirect our pleasure-seeking desires from matter to spirit, that move from outwards to inwards. So the devotee has asked this question that you are correct to be able to identify the negative thoughts, and now you continue to follow the steps given by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita 5.20 onwards. So yes, your desire is correct that I have negative thoughts, but that is, I want to be Samadarshina. So understand that Samadarshina does not mean one may not have negative thoughts. The volume of negative thoughts will be less for a Samadarshina. The Samadarshina is, his vision is equals towards everyone. That is the criteria. Not having negative thought is not the criteria. But the vision of being equal to everyone is the Samadarshina. That's the word Darshina means. Sama and Darshina. Further, we have also discussed Srimad Bhagavatam 4.8.34 on how to be non-envious. So I will bring up 4.8.34 again to read. I have on screen 4.8.34. Prabhupada has said we all should live like this. Shivangi, translation and purport 4.8.34.
Hare Krishna translation. Every man should act like this. When he meets a person more qualified than himself, he should be very pleased. When he meets someone less qualified than himself, he should be compassionate toward him. And when he meets someone equal to himself, he should make friendship with him. In this way, one is never affected by the threefold miseries of this material world. Purport. Generally, when we find someone more qualified than ourselves, we become envious of him. When we find someone less qualified, we deride him. And when we find someone equal, we become very proud of ourselves. These are the causes of all material tribulations. The great sage Nada therefore advised that devotee should act perfectly. Instead of being envious of a more qualified man, one should be jolly to receive him. Instead of being oppressive to a less qualified man, one should be compassionate toward him just to raise him to the proper standard. And when one meets an equal, instead of being proud of one's own activities before him, he should treat him as a friend. One should also have compassion for the people in general who are suffering due to forgetfulness of Krishna. These important functions will make one happy within this material world. Hare Krishna.
So do not suppress your thoughts. It is not possible to suppress. Rather, purify by overwhelming the negative thoughts, by filling the mind with Krishna's thoughts and always trying to look at positive qualities in others. So, like this question, every time you ask a question about how, well, it is a matter of practice. So, practice. So, we have also discussed Srimad Bhagavatam 4.4.12 that sadhus like Shiva finds no faults in others. Rather, he magnifies even meager good qualities of others. While a sadhu like Daksha finds faults in others even when there are no faults. So all of you, yes, all of you, please take this as your additional spiritual endeavor for today to find the 4 positive levels and 4 negative levels from Srimad Bhagavatam 4.4.12 and bring this for discussion at the next class. So pretty important inquiry. Although one devotee has asked, I'm pretty sure many get affected. Does that help with the inquiry?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Everybody on the same page?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhuji.
All right. So we will now discuss Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 5.
One moment, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Both the slides which you showed, it has happened many times to me. And I am in the process, a beginner. I used to get negative thoughts when people offended me for no fault of me, despite all the help I have given. But they are ignorant. I started realizing that they are not doing deliberately due to their ignorance. So I am slowly in the path of realizing it, and that negative thought doesn't come nowadays.
Okay, very good. So you are correct that material world, people will always try to take advantage of you, no matter what your intent is. So Prabhupada's very first lecture in Bhagavad Gita for Bhagavad Gita 1.1 title is Material World Means Jealousy, Envy, Pride, etc. So if anybody is interested, can send that lecture also to re-listen. But point is, material world is like this. So uncle, you are absolutely correct that now you have transformed. So this is elevation, gradual elevation. This is spectacular. So this is what we have to do. That normally by default, I react to the default setting. But now we pause before we take any action, before we hit send on an email message or WhatsApp message or text message or whichever way we communicate. Stop, pause, think. Do I really need to send this? And act properly. So this is acting in the mode of goodness, that you are thinking first and then acting, versus historically I have always acted the mode of passion and ignorance, that I'll just react whichever way my default setting was. So very good, uncle. Thank you for sharing.
Very good.
Hare Krishna. So Canto 5, Chapter 5 is a heavy conversation we're going to have on the teachings of Lord Rishabdev. The context is, in Chapter 1, we discussed the various qualities of Rishabdev. The father, Nabi, enthrones Rishabdev because Rishabdev was popular among citizens and ministers, and because Rishabdev would give protection to people in terms of Vedic religious systems. And then Nabi renounced everything and attained Vaikuntha planets. The 100 sons of Rishabdev, 10 were Kshatriya sons. Eldest son is Bharat Maharaj, is a great exalted devotee in whose honor this planet became known as Bharatvarsh. Then 9 were Mahabhagavats, very exalted devotees, authorized preachers of Srimad Bhagavatam, and they were glorified for their strong devotion. And 81 sons were perfectly qualified Brahmanas, well-cultured, well-behaved, very pure in their activities, and expert in Vedic knowledge. So all these 100 sons were born as Kshatriya, but by qualities, some became Kshatriyas, some became Mahabhagavats, and some became Brahmanas. So chapter 5 is titled Lord Rishabdev's teachings to his sons, and is divided into 8 parts. Part 1, verses 1 to 3, importance of human life. Part 2, verses 4 to 6, ending the transmigration cycle. Part 3, verses 7 to 9, cutting through the knots of illusion. Part 4, verses 10 to 14, processes to attain liberation. Part 5, verses 15 to 18, Obligations of a leader. Part 6, verses 19 and 20. The Lord and his devotee in one family. Part 7, 21 to 27. The glory of Brahmanas. Part 8, verses 28 to 35. Lord Rishabdev's renunciation as an Avadhuta. So we will read a lot of purport. So all of you please read at a faster pace so we can cover a lot of points today. So at the start of the chapter is a very good summary as to what is described in the chapter. Sridhar Prabhu or Aditi or Kalyani, read the chapter summary before verse 1. Sridhar? Shalini?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, you want me to read the introduction, Prabhu?
Yeah, chapter 5, the summary before verse 1.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. In this chapter, there is a description of Bhagavad Dharma, religious principles in devotional service that transcend religious principles for liberation and the mitigation of material misery. It is stated in this chapter that a human being should not work hard like dogs and hogs for sense gratification. The human life is especially meant for the revival of our relationship with the Supreme Lord, and to this end, all kinds of austerities and penances should be accepted. By austere activities, one's heart can be cleansed of material contamination. As a result, one can be situated on the spiritual platform. To attain this perfection, one has to take shelter of a devotee and serve him. Then the door of liberation will be open. Those who are materially attached to women and sense gratification gradually become entangled in the material consciousness and suffer the miseries of birth, old age, death, and disease and death. Those who are engaged in the general welfare of all, who are not attached to children and family, are called Mahatmas. Those who are engaged in sense gratification, who act piously or impiously, cannot understand the purpose of the soul. Therefore, they should approach a highly elevated devotee and accept him as a spiritual master. By his association, one will be able to understand the purpose of life. Under the instructions of such a spiritual master, one can attain devotional service to the Lord, detachment from material things, and tolerance of material misery and distress. One can then see all living entities equally, and one becomes very eager to know about the transcendental subject matters. Endeavoring persistently for the satisfaction of Krishna, one becomes detached from wife, children, and home. He is not interested in wasting time. In this way, one becomes self-realized. A person advanced in spiritual knowledge does not engage anyone in material activity, and one who cannot deliver another person by instructing him in devotional service should not become a spiritual master, father, mother, demigod, or husband. Instructing his 100 sons, Lord Rishabdev advised them to accept the elder brother, Bharata, as their guide and lord, and thereby serve him. Of all living entities, the Brahmanas are the best, and above the Brahmanas, the Vaishnavas are situated in an even better position. Serving a Vaishnava means serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, Sukhdev Goswami describes the characteristics of Bharat Maharaj and the sacrificial performance executed by Lord Rishabdev for the instruction of the general populace. Hare Krishna.
So the very first point in the summary we read, Prabhupada talks about the importance of human life. That is the lecture that I'm going to send to you today after the class. So verses 1, 2, and 3 talk about the importance of human life. So in this verse number 1, there is comparison of austerities performed by materialistic people versus austerities by spiritualists. Mother Jija, verse 1, translation and purport.
Hare Krishna. Text 1. Lord Rishabdev told his son, "My dear boys, of all the living entities who have accepted material bodies in this world, one who has been awarded this human form should not work hard day and night simply for sense gratification, which is available even for dogs and hogs that eat stool. One should engage in penance and austerity to attain the divine position of devotional service. By such activity, one's heart is purified, and when one attains this position, he attains eternal blissful life, which is transcendental to material happiness and which continues forever." Purport. In this verse, Lord Rishabdev tells his sons about the importance of human life. The word Deha Bhak refers to anyone who accepts a material body,
Mother Jija, your voice is breaking. We'll
but
let
the
someone
living
else
entity
read.
who is awarded the human form must act differently. Hare Krishna.
Mother Jija, your voice is breaking. We'll let someone else read.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Chandan Prabhu, you can read verse 1 purport from the start, please.
Hare Krishna. Text 1 purport. In this verse, Lord Rishabdeva tells his sons about the importance of human life. The word Deha Bhak refers to anyone who accepts a material body. But the living entity who is awarded the human form must act differently from animals. Animals like dogs and hogs enjoy sense gratification by eating stool. After undergoing severe hardships all day, human beings are trying to enjoy themselves at night by eating, drinking, having sex, and sleeping. At the same time, they have to properly defend themselves. However, this is not human civilization. Human life means voluntarily practicing suffering for the advancement of spiritual life. There is, of course, suffering in the lives of animals and plants, which are suffering due to their past misdeeds. However, human beings should voluntarily accept suffering in the form of austerities and penances in order to attain the divine life. After attaining the divine life, one can enjoy happiness eternally. After all, every living entity is trying to enjoy happiness. But as long as one is engaged in the material body, he has to suffer different kinds of misery. A higher sense is present in the human form. We should act according to superior advice in order to attain eternal happiness and go back to Godhead. It is significant in this verse that the government and the natural guardian, the father, should educate subordinates and raise them to Krishna consciousness. Devoid of Krishna consciousness, every living being suffers in the cycle of birth and death perpetually. To relieve them from this bondage and enable them to become blissful and happy, Bhakti Yoga should be taught. A foolish civilization neglects to teach people how to rise to the platform of Bhakti Yoga. Without Krishna consciousness, a person is no better than a hog or dog. The instructions of Rishabdeva are very essential at the present moment. People are being educated and trained to work very hard for sense gratification. And there is no sublime aim in life. A man travels to earn his livelihood, leaving home early in the morning, catching a local train and being packed in a compartment. He has to stand for an hour or two in order to reach his place of business. Then again, he takes a bus to get to the office. At the office, he works hard from 9 to 5. Then he takes 2 or 3 hours to return home. After eating, he has sex and goes to sleep. For all this hardship, his only happiness is a little sex. Yan maitunadi grahameti sukham haitutam. Rishabdeva clearly states that human life is not meant for this kind of existence, which is enjoyed even by dogs and hogs. Indeed, dogs and hogs do not have to work so hard for sex. A human being should try to live in different way and should not try to imitate dogs and hogs. The alternative is mentioned. Human life is meant for tapasya, austerity, and penance. By tapasya, one can get out of the material clutches. When one is situated in Krishna consciousness, devotional service, his happiness is guaranteed eternally. By taking a bhakti yoga devotional service, one's existence is purified. The living entity is seeking happiness life after life, but he can make solution to all these problems simply by practicing bhakti yoga. Then he immediately becomes eligible to return home, back to Godhead, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 4.9. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yu veti tattvata tattva deham punarjanma naiti mam etiso Arjuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take this birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. Hare Krishna.
So the austerities of materialistic and spiritualist people comparison, that spiritualist, they would act that human beings should voluntarily accept suffering in the form of austerities and penances in order to attain the divine life and situate in Krishna consciousness in devotional service. Materialistic people, on the other hand, people are being educated and trained to work very hard for sense gratification, and there is no sublime aim in life. A man travels to earn his livelihood, leaving home early in the morning, catching a local train and being packed in a train compartment. He has to stand for an hour or two in order to reach his place of business. Then again, he takes a bus to get to office. And at the office, he's working hard 9 to 5. Then he again takes 2 to 3 hours to reach home and return. We can see this every day. When I was in India studying, I used to take a train from my city to other city. And in India, generally, people, these local travel, they will generally travel in the same compartment. So many people used to be in the same compartment every single day. And some of them, they used to come, the train has already traveled 2 hours to reach to my city. They are already there from where the train has originated. And I have gotten off to the next station, and they will continue their travel for 2 more hours. So can you imagine, one way train journey is like 4 or 5 hours every day, and return. They are doing this every day. It was mind-boggling to me back then. So people don't realize, they think this is life. And therefore Rishabdev says, we don't have to live the life like dogs and hogs. I will pause. Questions, comments, realizations. Have you all observed this?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, you had no choice except to travel. So the relevance I would like you to enlighten me.
Yeah, so when you have no choice, meaning you can travel for an intermediate period and then move. So for example, here in Toronto, I used to work and live in Toronto, and then I got a job in St. Catharines. So it used to be, now this is many years back, like 10 plus years back, even though I was going against the traffic, so my drive used to be smooth, it still used to take me 1.5 hours drive at highway pace, 120 kilometers drive every day, one way. That was a lot of travel, but I didn't travel forever. I traveled for a couple of months till I sold my old place, found a new place. So that was an interim period. That you can understand, that there is a transition. But you will notice that people are traveling like this for lifetime. No, you can move if possible. I'm not saying it is possible for 100% of the people, but where there is possible, you can try to move or try to find a job closer to where you are. Does that help?
Yes, Prabhuji. As a student days, you had no choice. But
Yeah.
as a professional, you had a choice of changing job, which I noticed in Lokanwala to Bombay. Many people every day as a routine, and some people even Pune. So what you said is relevant.
Yeah, you are correct that like people travel from Bombay to Pune or even within Bombay. I mean, that's quite a long distance. But of course, Bombay you cannot compare because it's very difficult to find a place in Bombay and move. So it's what people become um, comfortable in this lifestyle, not really realizing that they don't have an sublime aim in life in traveling up and down every single day. Abhishek?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I want to understand that um, like many of us, I assume, are well-to-do, but there would be people who are not so financially good, and they don't have, like, how do people who are not so uh, like who are doing this to make their ends meet for daily living also, like how should they see this situation?
So you are correct. And I already said that it may not be possible for 100% of the people. So you can try as much as is possible. I'm pretty sure it is not possible for 100% of the people based on their conditioning, based on their karma, and they're trying to meet their ends. So as much as is possible, one should try either find a new job or move closer to your workplace, somehow do something to have an aim in life rather than traveling so long for eternity. Abhishek?
If we talk to, like, if even if we someone tries to um, explain this point to them, um, and even if they appreciate, the thing is, they may think that I don't have time, which is also for, like, which is an excuse many times. But like how people who actually, like, in such situation and they don't get much time, how should they see or try to move forward in spiritual life, or if what they can start with?
My spiritual master has an analogy. He uses this many times. So what you describe, person doesn't have a time. So you use this analogy for this person. You tell him that a person is trying to cut a tree with a saw. And he's struggling to cut a tree because his saw is blunt. So you, as a spiritualist, are going there to give him advice that your saw is blunt. Can you please sharpen your saw? Well, most of the time, when you go to tell this person, what's the response you're going to get?
Get lost.
Get lost. Exactly. Right? Exactly what Abhishek Prabhu said. Go away. I am busy cutting. So you try to tell them exactly the same point. Are Baba, you are struggling to cut the tree because your saw is blunt. So you need to sharpen the saw. So sharpen the saw refers to get spiritual knowledge, means sharpen your brain. And then you will realize that you are actually struggling where you don't really need to struggle. So if you sharpen your skills, if you sharpen your brain, then your struggle will be less. I'm not saying struggle will be gone forever. Abhishek, everybody, does that help the analogy?
Yes, Prabhuji. And I just wanted to confirm, is it okay to tell people that many of our life situation is mainly affected by our karma? So even if we take like little spiritual life, it helps us get rid of a lot of bad things. So in that way also it is helpful.
So we have discussed this in our karma lecture and in the bigger presentations for batch 3 and 4. One of the upcoming presentation is on karma, where the subject line is going to be your answer. So far the subject line I have not yet posted on the Google form. So we have discussed in the karma discussion that for yourself, look at your own karma and beat up yourself. What karma I have done bad to deserve. Beat yourself up. For others, never talk of karma. For others, always talk, what is my dharma? How I can help? So you don't need to be that hard-hearted in talking to others. You can have compassionate way of explaining the same point. You can say, yes, I understand material world is a place of struggle. You can point to Bhagavad Gita 8.15 and 16. You say, yes, but material world is a place of struggle. I understand. All I am saying is sharpen your saw, means sharpen your knowledge so that the struggle is less. But never talk of karma. Abhishek?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
So wait for that, the bigger presentation coming up on karma. Just look at the title and that itself will be the crux of what the discussion will be, which essentially I have kind of highlighted right now. So human body can grant liberation. Therefore, in verse number 2, it describes the causes of liberation and bondage. So there are two kinds of Mahatmas described. Impersonalist Mahatma, who worships Brahman effulgence, and devotee Mahatma, who worships Bhagwan. Obviously, a devotee Mahatma is superior. Uncle will read verse 2, translation and purport.
Hare Krishna. Text 2. One can attain the path of liberation from material bondage only by rendering service to highly advanced spiritual personalities. These personalities are impersonalists and devotees. Whether one wants to merge into the Lord's existence or wants to associate with the personality of Godhead, one should render service to the Mahatmas. For those who are not interested in such activities, who associate with people fond of women and sex, the path to hell is wide open. The Mahatmas are equipoised. They do not see any difference between one living entity and another. They are very peaceful and they are fully engaged in devotional service. They are devoid of anger and they work for the benefit of everyone. They do not behave in any abominable way. Such people are known as Mahatmas. Purport. The human body is like a junction. One may either take the path of liberation or the path leading to hellish condition. How one can take this path is described herein. One path of liberation, one associates with Mahatmas, and on the path of bondage, one associates with those attached to sense gratification and women. There are two types of Mahatmas, the impersonalist and the devotee. Although their ultimate goal is different, the process of emancipation is almost the same. Both want eternal happiness. One seeks happiness in impersonal Brahman, and the other seeks happiness in the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As described in the first verse, Brahma Saikyam. Brahman means spiritual or eternal. Both the impersonalist and the devotees seek eternal blissful life. In any case, it is advised that one become perfect. In the words of Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 22.87, Asat Sangha Tyaga Ye Vaishnava Akhara Stri Sangi Eka Asadu Krishna Bhakta Ara. To remain unattached to the modes of material nature, one should avoid associating with those who are asat, materialistic. There are two kinds of materialists. One is attached to women and sense gratification, and the other is simply a non-devotee. One positive side is association with Mahatmas, and on the negative side is the avoidance of non-devotees and women hunters. Hare Krishna.
So qualities are described. Mahatmas are equipoise. Mahatmas do not see any difference between one living entity and another. Mahatmas are very peaceful, fully engaged in devotional service. Mahatmas are devoid of anger and they work for benefit of everyone. They do not behave in any abominable way and they are fully engaged in devotional service. So engage in devotional service applies to the devotees Mahatma and not to the impersonalists. So one can attain liberation of merging with Brahman effulgence by serving impersonalist, or one can attain liberation by becoming associate of the Lord by serving devotee. So two types of materialists described in verse number 2 causing bondage are one is attached to woman and sense gratification, and the other is simply a non-devotee. So both the positive and negative points are important. Positive is to associate and serve Mahatmas. Of course, serving devotee Mahatma is better as compared to serving an impersonalist Mahatma. And the second, negative is avoiding the association of those attached to sense gratification and those who are non-devotees. Questions, comments, realizations? So logically, next verse number 3 describes extraordinary qualities of a devotee. And it also describes the way of life for a spiritually minded householder. Mother Chandra Aunty, verse 3, translation and purport.
Text 3. Translation. Those who are interested in reviving Krishna consciousness and increasing their love of Godhead do not like to do anything that is not related to Krishna. They are not interested in mingling with people who are busy maintaining their bodies, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. They are not attached to their home, although they may be householders, nor are they attached to wives, children, friends, or wealth. At the same time, they are not indifferent to the execution of their duties. Such people are interested in collecting only enough money to keep the body and soul together. Purport. Whether he is an impersonalist or a devotee, one should actually interested in advising spiritually should not mingle with those who are simply interested in maintaining the body by means of so-called advancement of civilization. Those who are interested in spiritual life should not be attached to homely comforts in the company of wife, children, friends, and so forth. Even if one is a grahastha and has to earn his livelihood, he should be satisfied by collecting only enough money to maintain body and soul together. One should not have more than that nor less than that. So, as indicated herein, a householder should endeavor to earn money for the execution of Bhakti Yoga, Saravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dashyam, Satyam, Atmanivedanam. A householder should lead such a life that he gets full opportunity to hear and chant. He should worship the deity at home, observe festival, invite friends in and give them prasad. A householder should earn money for this purpose, not for sense gratification. Hare Krishna.
So, clearly describe how a grahastha should live, that you should endeavor just about enough for execution of Bhakti Yoga, which is 7.5.23 processes. So the householder should lead a life that has full opportunity to hear, chant, and worship the Lord, have Gopinath at home, observe festivals, invite devotees at home and offer them prasada. Not otherwise. You don't need to work hard, running up and down for sense gratification. Now, part 2 is verses 4 to 6. Title is Ending the Transmigration Cycle. So in verse number 2, Rishabdev explained that those who are attached to women, that discussion continues in verse 4, that sense gratification leads to perpetual transmigration. Abhishek, for translation and purport.
Hare Krishna. Text 4. When a person considers sense gratification the aim of life, he certainly becomes mad after materialistic living and engages in all kinds of sinful activity. He does not know that due to his past misdeeds, he has already received a body, which, although temporary, is the cause of his misery. Although the living entity should not have taken on a material body, but he has been awarded the material body for sense gratification. Therefore, I think it not befitting an intelligent man to involve himself again in the activities of sense gratification, by which he perpetually gets material bodies one after another. Purport: begging, borrowing, and stealing. To live for sense gratification is condemned in this verse because such consciousness leads one to a dark, hellish condition. The four sinful activities are illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling. These are the means by which one gets another material body that is full of miseries. In the Vedas, it is said, Asango here ayam purusha. The living entity is not really connected with the material world, but due to his tendency to enjoy the material senses, he is put into the material condition. One should perfect his life by association with devotees. He should not become further implicated in the material body.
So due to Jiva's past misdeed, he has received a body which is a cause of misery. So when a person thinks sense gratification is the aim of life, he becomes mad after materialistic living. Therefore, he has been ordered or awarded the material body for sense gratification. Now, one may ask that if sin leads to bondage, then should I do pious activities? Therefore, Rishabdev specifies that both sinful activities and pious activities cause bondage. And we have discussed this point during our karma discussion as well as at the start of Bhagavad Gita, that good and bad karma do not offset each other. Bad karma is of course bad, but good karma is also bad because one has to come back to material world to exhaust the good karma. So Rishabdev is going to explain that same point in verse number 5. Gopal, verse 5, translation and purport.
Hare Krishna, text 5 translation. As long as one does not inquire about the spiritual values of life, one is defeated and subjected to miseries arising from ignorance, be it sinful or pious. Karma has its resultant actions. If a person is engaged in any kind of karma, his mind is called karmatmaha, colored with fruitive activity. As long as the mind is impure, consciousness is unclear, and as long as one is absorbed in fruitive activity, he has to accept a material body. Generally, purport. Generally, people think that one should act very piously in order to be relieved from misery, but this is not a fact. Even though one engages in pious activity and speculation, he is nonetheless defeated. His only aim should be emancipation from the clutches of Maya and all material activities. Speculative knowledge and pious activity do not solve the problems of material life. One should be inquisitive to understand his spiritual position, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 4.37. Yata damshi samvido kinar basmasat kruthe arjuna jnanigna sarva karmani basmasat kruthe tata. As a blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all reactions to material activities. Unless one understands the self and its activities, one has to be considered in material bondage. In Srimad Bhagavatam 10.2.32, it is also said, Yeniye Ravindaksha Vimukta Maninas Tivya Asta Bhavat Avishuddha Buddhyaha. A person who doesn't have knowledge of devotional service may think himself liberated, but actually he is not. Aruhya Rishina Param Padam Tat Patani Ado Antrata Yosmat Anugrahaya Such people may approach the impersonal Brahman effulgence, but they fall down again into material enjoyment because they have no knowledge of the devotional service. As long as one is interested in karma and jnana, he continues to enduring the miseries of material life, birth, old age, disease, and death. Karmis certainly take on one body after another. As far as jnanis are concerned, unless they are promoted to the topmost understanding, they must return to the materialist world. As explained in Bhagavad Gita 7.19, Bhutanam Janmanam Ante Gyaman Mam Prapatyante. The point is to know Krishna Vasudeva as everything and surrender unto him. Karmis do not know this, but a devotee who is 100% engaged in the devotional service of the Lord knows fully what is karma and jnana. Therefore, a pure devotee is no longer interested in karma or jnana. Anya Vilasha Shunyam Jnana Karmade Anavrutam. The real bhakta is untouched by any tinge of karma and jnana. His only purpose in life is to serve the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Good and bad karma reaction can be destroyed by jnana. Bhagavad Gita 4.37 says. Good and bad karma do not offset each other. Purport clearly Prabhupada explains. Many think I should do pious activities to counter. No, it doesn't work that way. Now, due to ignorance, the jiva is engaged in karmic activities. And the same point Kunti Maharani has also stated in Canto 1, Chapter 8, Avidya Kama Karma Bhi. And the same point we have also discussed in Nectar of Devotion, that avidya is the source of karmic activities. So what's the solution? To attain liberation, solution is love for Vasudeva. Sridhar Prabhu, are you now able to read verse 6 translation and purport?
Right. When the living entity is covered by the mode of ignorance, he does not understand the individual living being and the supreme living being, and his mind is subjugated by fruitive activity. Therefore, until one has love for Lord Vasudeva, who is none other than myself, he is certainly not delivered from having to accept a material body again and again. Purport. When the mind is polluted by fruitive activity, the living entity wants to be elevated from one material position to another. Generally, everyone is involved in working hard day and night to improve his economic condition. Even when one understands the Vedic rituals, he becomes interested in promotion to heavenly planets, not knowing that one's real interest lies in returning home back to Godhead. By acting on the platform of fruitive activity, one wanders throughout the universe in different species and forms. Unless he comes in contact with the devotee of the Lord, a guru, he does not become attached to the service of the Lord Vasudeva. Knowledge of Vasudeva requires many births to understand, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 7.19. Vasudeva sarvam iti sa mahatma sudurlabha. After struggling for existence for many births, one may take shelter at the lotus feet of Vasudeva, Krishna. When this happens, one actually becomes wise and surrenders unto him. That is the only way to stop the repetition of birth and death. This is confirmed in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 19.151. In the instructions given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Sri Rupa Goswami at Dashava Medha Ghat. Brahmananda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jiva Guru Krishna Prasade Paya Bhakti Lata Bija. The living entity wanders throughout different planets in different forms and bodies. But if by chance he comes in contact with the bona fide spiritual master by the grace of the spiritual master, he receives Lord Krishna's shelter and his devotional service begins. Hare Krishna.
So Abhishek Prabhu's earlier point about people trying to meet their ends, Prabhupada explains in the purport that the real purpose of life is to go back home, back to Godhead. Not running up and down like cats and dogs. Questions, comments, realizations? Correct. So part 3 is verses 7 to 9. Cutting through the knots of illusion. Verse number 7 explains sense gratification is useless. Mother Jija, you want to try verse 7 translation and purport?
Hare Krishna. Text 7. Even though one may be very learned and wise, he is mad if he does not understand that the endeavor for sense gratification is a useless waste of time. Being forgetful of his own interest, he tries to be happy in the material world, centering his interests around his home, which is based on sexual intercourse and which brings him all kinds of material miseries. In this way, one is no better than a foolish animal. Purport. In the lowest stage of devotional life, one is not an unalloyed devotee. Anya abhilashita sunyam jnanam karmadi anarvritam. To be an unalloyed devotee, one must be freed from all material desires and untouched by fruitive activity and speculative knowledge. On the lower platform, one may sometimes be interested in philosophical speculation with a tinge of devotion. However, at that stage, one is still interested in sense gratification and is contaminated by the modes of material nature. This influence of Maya is so strong that even a person advanced in knowledge actually forgets that he is Krishna's eternal servant. Therefore, he remains satisfied in his household life, which is centered around sexual intercourse, conceding to a life of sex. He agrees to suffer all kinds of material miseries due to ignorance. One is thus bound by the chain of material laws. Hare Krishna.
So powerful purports, Prabhupada explains sense gratification is useless. Actually, Rishabh Dev is explaining. So male-female attraction causes double knot in the heart. One is it creates attraction to body, home, property, children, relatives, wealth, etc. And second, in illusion, one thinks, I am this and this is mine. Gopal, verse 8, translation and purport.
Hare Krishna. Text 8 translation. The attraction between male and female is the basic principle of material existence. On the basis of this misconception, which ties together the hearts of the male and female, one becomes attracted to his body, home, property, children, relatives, and wealth. In this way, one increases life's illusions and thinks in terms of I and mine. Purport. Sex serves as a natural attraction between man and woman, and when they are married, their relationship becomes more involved. Due to the entangling relationship between man and woman, there is a sense of illusion whereby one thinks this man is my husband or this woman is my wife. This is called Hridaya Granthi, the hard knot in the heart. This knot is very difficult to undo, even though a man and woman separate either for the principles of varnashrama or simply to get a divorce. In any case, the man always thinks of the woman and the woman always thinks of the man. Thus, a person becomes materially attached to family, property and children, although all of these are temporary. The possessor of unfortunately identifies with his property and wealth. Sometimes, even after renunciation, one becomes attached to a temple or the few things that constitute the property of a sannyasi, but such attachment is not as strong as family attachment. The attachment to the family is the strongest illusion. In Satya Samhita, it is stated, Brahmadya Yajna Valkadya Muchante Stri Saha Inya Buddhyante Kichanai Kenchanitesam Vishesham Sha Vidhu. Sometimes it is found among exalted personalities like Lord Brahma that the wife and children are not a cause of bondage. On the contrary, the wife actually helps further spiritual life and liberation. Nonetheless, most people are bound by the knots of the material relationship, and consequently, they forget their relationship with Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hridaya Granthi, the hard knot in the heart, is very difficult. Even for couples who have divorced, it still is very difficult. So you can imagine how hard this knot is to undo. Prabhupada says in the purport. Well, now question becomes, when does liberation takes place? I mean, all these purports, we just talk about the attachment, the entanglement, and the knot. So when does liberation takes place? So verse 9 describes the steps to liberation. And in verses 10 to 13, Rishabdev provides 25 processes to destroy ego and attain liberation. So verse 9, the three broad steps to liberation are strong knot of heart due to karma is slackened. Then the second step is one gives up basic principle of illusion of I and mine. And then the third step happens, the results of liberation and entrance into transcendental world. So the step one, how the hard knot in the heart is slackened is by devotional service. Abhishek Prabhu, verse 9, translation and purport.
Hare Krishna. Text 9. When the strong knot in the heart of a person implicated in material life due to the results of past action is slackened, one turns away from his attachment to home, wife, and children. In this way, one gives up the basic principle of illusion, I and mine, and becomes liberated. Thus, one goes to the transcendental world. Purport. When by associating with sadhus and engaging in devotional service, one is gradually freed from the material conception due to knowledge, practice, and detachment, the knot of attachment in the heart is slackened. Thus, one can get freed from conditional life and become eligible to return home back to Godhead.
Right, so how Hridaya Granthi can be slackened, or the hard knot in the heart can be slackened, is when you associate with sadhus and engage in devotional service, one is gradually free from material conception due to knowledge that I am not this body, I am a soul. And you practice and you get detached. This way the knot of attachment in the heart is slackened. And this way one can get freed from conditional life and become eligible to return home back to Godhead. So in the next verses 10 to 13, Rishabdev provides 25 processes to destroy illusion. So we are very close to 1 p.m. Toronto time towards the end of our class. I did want to cover this. So I have on the screen these 25 processes to destroy ego and attain liberation. I request you to please take a snapshot and read by yourself, and we'll discuss in our subsequent class. Right now, I will give you spiritual endeavor. Question number 1. Compare austerities of materialistic person and spiritualist. Question 2. Describe qualities of Mahatma. Comes from verse number 2. Question number 1 about austerities of material and spiritual comes from verse number 1. Question number 3. Describe the way of life for spiritually minded householder. Comes from verse number 3. Number 4. Explain Hridaya Granthi and how it can be slackened. Comes from verse number 8 and 9. Next spiritual endeavor is I will send 2 Prabhupada lectures. Please listen, they are spectacular lectures. Next spiritual endeavor is for next class, read Canto 5, rest of chapter 5 if you have not already read. And from the inquiry section, you already had Srimad Bhagavatam 4.4.12 spiritual endeavor to bring 4 positive levels and 4 negative levels for discussion at the next session. I'm pretty sure you all are overloaded with what you have as spiritual endeavor for today. Silence, I got silence.
Perfect, Prabhuji. It can be managed.
All right,
It's okay,
very good.
Prabhu. We will. Thank you.
Shalini Gopal, what are you saying?
No, the same thing, Prabhu, that thank you, we will be able to do. Thank you, Prabhu.
All right, we'll stop here. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare
Hare
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Krishna.